Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Special Monday show for you today, folks. We're coming into you live from rainy Westfield, Massachusetts. Pete, I'm looking out the window. It's a little nasty out there today.
Absolutely. It's
One of
rainy.
One of those March days. Okay, folks, we're jumping off right here with our show today. Extremely excited to bring it to you. It is our 100th. Our anniversary show. It's a big one, folks. Really, really great feeling, honestly, to have eclipsed 100 shows with the great Pete Coles. MV Pete, we call him here. And it's really been a good ride, Pete. How about a reflection for our fans?
I think we've had a lot of fun. When we came in, you approached me right before the tournament 2 years ago. And we've been rocking and rolling ever since. That's why I played little Andy Williams there.
Love it.
Most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah, it's been great. And we did start right before the tournament 2 years ago. And it's been a great ride. Really been a great ride. I think Pete has learned a little bit from me, and I have learned a tremendous about this business on this side from Pete. And so it's really, really been cool. But we would be absolutely nowhere without the people that watch the show. So for all the people, if there's anybody out there that has labored through all 100 with us, we really, really appreciate you because you're doing a great job too. We got a show for you today that's on Monday only, NCAA Bracket Buster. And Pete, I promised, but today we got NIT news too. All right, we're going to kick off with what we call baselines though. We usually would open up the show with Pete's Corner, where Pete formulates a couple of questions for me in the basketball world, and we go. And right now today, though, there's just so much going on in the NCAA tournament bracket and what's happening on the coaching carousel. What just transpired this morning was the opening of the portal. And so there's just quite a bit going on right now in this whole nexus of March and what they call March Madness. All right, Pete, the baselines. The baselines, number one. Here's one I wanted to start the show with, okay? People often have these great conversations about who's the greatest player of all time. This is a quote from Pat Riley that I think really, really nails it. He goes, if I have to pick one player to win a game for me, I'm picking Michael Jordan.
Okay.
But if I have to pick one player to save my life, I'm picking Larry Bird.
Oh, wow.
So to make a shot.
Yep.
To make the shot. You have one last shot, okay? And who's going to take that shot? He said, if the game depends on it, I'm going with Michael Jordan. He said, but if my life depends on it, I'm going with the great Larry Bird of the Boston Celtics. Okay, Pete, I wanted to just give you a little bit of an update on my bracket. 23-9 in the first round. I still am alive with 3 of my 4 Final Four teams. All right, North Carolina, you did me wrong. Boy, did Mississippi beat you down too. And you got some changes to make, Carolina. Hey, in my mind, ain't nothing finer than North Carolina. I love it. I love the program, always have. Worked at their basketball camp with Coach Dean Smith, Coach Roy Williams, the great Bill Guthridge. It's just a great, great organization down there. It does me a little sad to see them have fallen off, but they're in a situation right now. You get right back up, Carolina. You can get right back up. All right, 23-9, but I got my 3 of 4 Final Fours still alive. The Big Ten started out really, really hot, but Pete, we're going to get into it later. The whole theme of this show right now, and this is a lot of what's happening on social media right now, is Cinderella has been taken to the dungeon once again, Pete. Cinderella might not even be around anymore, folks. I got news for you. All right? If this portends what's going to happen in the new portal, NIL world, you can get rid of seeing all of the mid-majors and get rid of seeing any of those low-major teams take a run into the Sweet 16, Elite 8, and Final Four anymore. It's not looking good. I won't say it's not going to happen, but it's not looking good. And the data and the facts that I use to buttress and support that argument are simply, right now, you only have in the Sweet 16, 4 conferences are represented. And guess who they are, Pete? They're the big guys.
Yeah.
They're the big guys. Okay, this is awesome, Pete. I love this stuff. Vanderbilt turned their program around in 1 year. Great job by Coach Mark Byington. All right? They lost. 13 minutes after their loss, one of their players sent out on social media that he is entering the portal.
I'm out.
That had to be from the team bus.
I'm out.
You might have still been in the locker room. Karis Bilal. Hey, if you got to go, Karis, we get it. Jump. The early bird gets the worm, Karis. You go for it. Arkansas St. John's. Good game over the weekend. I was excited to see it. But they were 3 for 26 from three-point range, Pete. This is something that they alluded to.
I saw part of that game. I was like, holy
It's something
cow.
they alluded to with the St. John's team all year long. 3 for 26 total between the two in the game. All right? There was also 25 fouls in 25 minutes. That bears the question, are some of these teams, because I watch some of these games myself live, and I am really, really caught up by how much physical contact actually goes on in the game that is not called. And then we get to tournament time, and it seems the referees are on display as well. We had 25 fouls in 25 minutes in the Arkansas St. John's game. I think it slowed St. John's down a little bit as well because their defense is usually very aggressive, and every time they tried to get aggressive, that whistle blew. The NIL basically made an all-power Sweet 16 here. The NIL has destroyed the mid-major conferences. The mid-majors didn't do themselves any favors either, because if you look around at some of those mid-majors, A, they have significant home and away differentials as well, and B, they really, really loaded up with soft games in the beginning there. It took their schedule to a different place. I get it. But it didn't work because in the NIT, there's only one of the 6 teams still alive in the NIT, and the NCAA team, VCU, went out a little bit early. All right, Cinderella is locked in the dungeon, though, Pete. The SEC tournament record for opening losses is 6. But guess who still has the most teams in the tournament? The SEC. So in this tournament where you got 14 teams, you could be the fastest conference ever to lose 6 teams and still now have 7 viable.
Yeah.
How about that? How about that for getting it done on all ends of the market? Okay, the SEC non-conference record, 185-23. 185-23 on their non-cons. All right,
Okay.
it shows you they're just separating. They're just separating, and the schism is growing bigger and bigger and bigger by the day. Wait until this last portal arrangement goes. Wait until some of that NIL money really, really starts to accumulate and settle in some of these major programs. Okay, this is number 6. 7 out of the top 10, Pete. In 20 through 25, this is the lowest that's ever been. You have Robert Morris took the lead over Alabama with 7 minutes and 10 seconds left in the game, and the remaining fouls called were Robert Morris 13 and Alabama 4. Robert Morris was playing their absolute butt off in that game. And if you're going to tell me that now, from what at least appears to me, that there's more than just a competition at play here, that now we're having just about everybody participate in getting these teams over the top, I'm telling you, people in social media are not happy about this Sweet 16 right now. The fans out there are not happy about this, and you have just taken the NCAA men's basketball Golden Goose. You have just taken one step into the graveyard of the NBA, the National Basketball Association. Good luck with that.
Told you this was coming.
Jalal Bethia, I want to talk him up for a second. He's about to enter into the portal. All right, but Jalal Bethia probably would have been drafted in the top 20 picks had he gone into the draft last year. Instead, he was forced by the one-and-done rule to come into college. They restrained this young man's ability to make money. They restrained his trade. And now he has to go. He's going into the portal. He won't be entering into the draft. And although he's being compensated very well in the portal, they cost this young man $1 gazillion with this rule. And they have cost a lot of young men a lot of money over the time. I would say now that you're in this big, big environment of portal and NIL, take the one and done rule out too then. Let them go straight to the pros, because Jaleel Bethea is just another example of young men that have gotten trampled in that one and done. Let the NBA guys make their own determinations. Let their NBA guys choose and fail as well. But this one and done rule was set up only to cover the NBA general managers who didn't want to risk drafting these young phenoms and have them turn into busts. That's the only reason that rule is in place. Get it out, Pete. Get it out. All right. We got the road to the Sweet 16 for you, folks. Boy, oh boy, was this some weekend. Now, I want to preface this because this is going to appeal to some people, and it's going to be detrimental for others. What you have to worry about if you're the television people who are in the middle of this, the television executives who need to make money from this and need to make good decisions, is rounding this thing up into the arguably, some of the best 16 teams in the country without Cinderella, without that dark horse who made the run, who got everybody excited, has everybody talking about it, has everybody going, oh my God, my bracket. A lot of people's brackets you're not hearing their brackets blown up. Because if you stayed on the middle of the path right here and you just kept picking favorites, you've done all right. You've done all right. All right.
Coach, my mother's winning the family pool, and I think she just hit auto pick.
I think that would be a great day in the Cowles family, I believe. I think that would be an unbelievable day for Mom. All right. Duke takes Mount St. Mary's out in that after the play-in game, 93-49. There's part of your schism, Pete. 93-49 in a first-round game. Florida takes out Norfolk, again, schism, 95-69. Alabama over Robert Morris, 90-81. Very good game. Robert Morris got a lot to be proud of. And the way that thing went down at the end, boy, oh boy, it didn't look too good to me. Michigan State Bryant. Michigan State is on a roll, 87-62. Tom Izzo having some of the best press conferences of all time. Iowa State 82 over 55 Lipscomb. Kentucky went over Troy 76-57. We told you, folks, on this show that Pope was dope. And I know Calipari down at Arkansas is still alive, but your Kentucky basketball program is in much better shape than it has been in years. Maryland over Grand Canyon 81-49 in that first go. Arizona over Akron, 93-65. Listen to some of these scores, Pete. 81-49, not even a game. 93-65, not even a game. Colorado State knocks off Memphis. Little bit of a surprise there. It was an 8-9 game, not really. Excuse me, that was a 12-5 game, so I guess it was. And Colorado State advanced, so pretty good win for them. Oregon and Liberty, 81-52. Listen to these margins. Mississippi beats North Carolina 71-64, but that game wasn't that close. Mississippi is very, very good. Sean Padula, folks. Sean Padula's had 20 points in both of his games, and nobody's talking about this kid right now. They beat North Carolina up that day. They beat them up. Illinois, 86-73 over Xavier, and St. Mary's took out Vanderbilt. That was a good game as well. Little surprised that Vanderbilt lost that one, but St. Mary's is very good. New Mexico, 75-66 over Marquette. Richard Pitino, rumored at a number of these carousel stops. It's going to be difficult for him to get one of these jobs if he keeps winning, except last night they got bounced. Baylor, Mississippi State. North Shore Dormier went for 12 points and 10 rebounds in that game. And Connecticut over Oklahoma. Tarris Reed, the guy I've been saying to throw into the starting lineup, went for 12 and 7. I thought all year long Tarris Reed might have been their best player. Auburn over Creighton on Saturday. That was an 82-70 game. We're moving and grooving here. We brought you all the way up through Thursday then we start Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we'll catch you all the way up. I promise we're going to have time for the NIT at the end too. Okay, Auburn 82-70 over Creighton in a second-round game. A really, really good game. Kalkbrenner played very well. Tahad Pettiford, the freshman, 23 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, OTB. He came off the bench. I thought he had started most of the year, but there may have been a reason for that. Houston Gonzaga, 81-76, another very good game. This is where the split's going to be, Pete. You are seeing some pretty good games. It's just void of excitement.
Yeah.
There have been good games, except for the Maryland game last night that Derek Queen took down the lane and won at the buzzer over Colorado State. There just hasn't been a lot of excitement. It's a little ho-hum when you're just watching teams beat up on teams that aren't as good. That's not that exciting. Now, will that evolve into one of the best Sweet 16s we've ever seen? I don't know. We're going to see that. Arkansas, 75-66. Talked about the shooting woes of both teams from deep. Fellas, take the ball to the basket a little bit more. Arkansas was 2 for 19. St. John's was 2 for 22. R.J. Lewis sat the end of that game, and there was a lot of – he sat for the final 4 minutes. I think he was 3 for 17 at that time and really, really not playing well. And then they had 2 reporters ask Coach Pitino about it in a press conference, and then things kind of devolved from there. Number one, they jumped all over the reporters, and even Coach Pitino did, for asking the question. And then they jumped on Coach Pitino for sitting his best player for the last 4 minutes in a game. And there's so much opinion out there on this. You know, do you ride with your best player even though he's not playing good, Pete? You know, in the stretch of that game, or do you try somebody else who might be able to pick you up and lead you to victory? We don't know what went on with that whole thing in the huddles as well. We don't know what some of the inner conversations are as well. But Let me dissect this for you, okay? This is a no-win for nobody. If the reporter doesn't ask the question, they're going to say, why didn't you ask him? Why did you take him off the hook? And if Pitino leaves him in the game and he goes 3 for 20, the very next question out of everybody's mouth is, Coach, why did you leave him in the game? I think we're creating these scenarios where nobody's winning.
This sounds like the Super Bowl where why didn't you play Butler?
Right. I mean,
it's the same thing.
I think you've got to give some of these coaches some leverage and some latitude in some of these scenarios. They know what they're doing. St. John's was nowhere. Now you're in a play-in game and playing great basketball. You won the Big East. And now you want to question the guy who did all of that for you?
You know what? I could see a sideline reporter asking that during the game.
I just think it was a valid question. I just think the answer was, be straight up. He was playing terribly. Mm-hmm. I took him out to try somebody else because if I didn't, I thought it would go this way and we would lose. That's why I tried it. Just be straight up.
You know why he didn't answer?
Don't attack the messenger. That kid had to ask that question.
You know why they don't answer the question now? Because now the player gets his feelings hurt and enters the portal from the bus.
Yeah, very well likely, Pete. Very well likely. This is what I'm saying. Some of these coaches are elephant in landmines. Better walk slowly.
It's worse than the NBA now.
Better walk slowly. And every step you take, every single step you take, you could get blown up.
You know why it's worse than the NBA? A thing you said when we talked about this during Pete's Corner. No contracts.
I think it's coming. There was something over the weekend that I saw. I didn't send you the clip because I didn't want our fans to watch it, but it was really, really saddening to me that some of these coaches also get that they're this emotional at this stage of their careers. You got a guy named Jim Zullo out in New York State, and I had coached against Jim Zullo when I was at Archbishop Malloy. They had a great player named Greg Kubek who wound up going to Duke, and by all accounts, this guy was a great, great basketball coach. In his 80s now, he's been in and out, and then jumped back in for some reason to coach women's basketball. But there's this absolutely horrible video of him online now during the end of one of the games where his team lost. There was a state tournament game or something. He pulls the hair of one of the girls on the line really hard and in a really untoward way. And it just saddened me to see that happen because of all the great things that he's done in his time. Fellas, that's what you're going to be remembered for. And that's the part of it that really saddens me because I had coached against that guy way, way back. I want to remember the name of the school, but it just was saddened to me, that the coaches, you got to have emotional quotient as well, too. You got to work on your emotional quotient. You got to be ready to handle just about anything. All right, back on it, Pete. Tennessee over UCLA, very good game, very good effort by UCLA. Chaz Lanier, 20 points, 4 of 5 from three-point range. This is what I said maybe 2 shows ago, and this is what I say to my team all the time. The postseason, and the reason St. John's going home, the postseason's about making shots. You see Chaz Lanier going 4 for 5 from three-point range. He's rising. His level's going up. And guess what? So is Tennessee. Texas Tech 77 over Drake 64. Now, just another quick stop here. Coach McCollum, 1 year before, leaves a Division II team that he had been at for years with an unbelievable record of accomplishment in D2. And now, in 1 year, he takes Drake to the NCAA tournament, wins a game, and now, I don't even know if it's been a year since he got hired at Drake, he will now take the Iowa job. Talk about pinch yourself in the morning and make sure you're not dreaming, coach, but also it shows the rapid rise sometimes that you can have if your team gets hot. Okay, they got knocked out by Texas Tech, who I like and think is very, very good. Texas Tech only took 14 threes this game instead of the 48 that they took the other night. Okay, then we get down into Saturday, Pete, some great games. But again, void of excitement, void of that usual March Madness that everybody gets drummed up for. I hate to say it, but you've taken one step towards the NBA, and nobody's gonna like it. Okay? You have basically 2 different types of customers also, and they think this is the part that the TV people are missing. You have 2 types of customers, college basketball fans and NBA fans. And very, very often, those twains do not meet.
Yep.
College basketball people I know don't ever watch the NBA. A lot of NBA people I know rarely ever watch college basketball. And so those 2 things don't connect. When you turn this into one big lump, good luck with selling it. Good luck with selling it. BYU is a surprise team of the tournament, but this is a program that's on the rise. They jumped into the Big 12. They signed the #1 overall pick of the year, recruitment-wise, A.J. DeBonsa out of Brockton, Massachusetts, folks. 91-89 over Wisconsin. A great game. Igor Demin, I really like him as a player. But John Tanji, what a tournament. What a tournament for John Tanji. One of the people I thought should have been given great consideration for the Wooden Award. Purdue over McNeese. We hammered McNeese. We hammered NC State. I don't know why I hammered McNeese, but I guess they could have had something to do with it too. They announced the day before their game that he was going to NC State. They wound up winning the game, 76-62. And as Pete said, you couldn't have waited 2 days? It was 2 days? Was that imminent? Okay, Trey Kaufman ran for Purdue, is cooking. He had 22 points, 15 rebounds. I don't see him on a lot of people's draft boards, but he's on mine. Michigan, Dusty May is the way. This is the guy who took Florida Atlantic all the way on that Cinderella run. Now he's at Michigan, making sure Cinderella don't get a run, but Dusty May is the way. In that little bump there, Danny Wolf, also the transfer, 14 points and 9 rebounds, 23 points, 12 rebounds for my guy, the big man, newly engaged, Vlad Golden. 23 and 12, Pete. He's playing great basketball. And I think he's got time left in here, but I'm going to say this to Vlad, or maybe I'll say this to his fiancée. He's going to get a lot of money in the NBA. Get him out the door. Get him out the door. But May is the way. That's what we're saying today, Pete. All right, here's In the Zone. Before I turn this over to what happened on Sunday, here's some guys that In the Zone is watching of this little group right here, of this little subset right here, here's some players we've been watching and we think have a pretty viable chance to get drafted this year if they were to enter into the draft. We put our draft board together early, and we have a draft board that compiles the best players and where they might fit. But then there's the decision of whether they're going to go. The NIL has complicated that decision and made that decision a little bit more variable. But right now I like Vlad Golden from Michigan. I'm not sure exactly where I have to have him on the board, but I'm pretty sure he's going to go in the first round. Danny Wolf, also Michigan. I think he's going to go in my first round as well. Wade Taylor, the fourth from Texas A&M. He's kind of taken a little bit of a step down with me board-wise, but I still like him. I like J.T. Toppin of Texas Tech to play at the next level. I had him maybe last year in the 14, 15, 16 spot when he was at New Mexico on my draft board, and this year's draft board is going to be a little bit different, but I think he's going to be right there as well. I like Taris Reed. I like Taris Reed from Connecticut. I always have. He might stick around. He's young, but if he was entering into a program right now and an NBA team is looking for a big man project that you can develop and has the ability to run, has skills, can get up and down the floor, I think that's a guy you might want to look at. Igor Demin of BYU, a big reason for their success. If he sticks around and DeBonsa arrives, BYU is going to be looking at a shot at the national title. Trey Kaufman-Renn from Purdue. See, that's one of the problems as well, though. Let me just break for a second here. You have Rutgers. They had two great freshmen, Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. They didn't have a good year this year. But if Cliff Amorie hadn't gone to Alabama and stayed at Rutgers, they'd be looking at maybe being an NCAA team. So you got to really look at these things as well as how are you impacting your future with all of these machinations, plate tectonics, and movements? Okay, L.J. Cryer from Houston. Boy, has he had a great tournament, Pete. I like Kalkbrenner, and I like Tahad Pettiford from Auburn. He's mercurial, but man, he can put the ball in the basket. Okay, Sunday came and Sunday went, Pete, but I didn't go and went. I sat there all day, and I watched almost every single game that they had, and they started. I'm going to give them a shot here, Pete.
Yep.
And I don't mind. I had my espresso at 8 o'clock, so it was fine. But they started 4 games after 9 o'clock last night.
I know.
Unbelievable. Florida, Connecticut, first game of the day, the actual best game of the tournament. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm also going to start here and go with all of the stuff flying around this guy. I'm going to say right now, I like Danny Hurley. I love Danny Hurley. And his range of emotions, is real. That's the way it is. And the way that he's spoken to us about his past, his present, his future, I just find it really refreshing because he just tells you like it is, And, great run for Coach Kamani Young, Tommy Moore, Luke Murray, and Coach Hurley, 2 times back-to-back champions, and I thought Hurley laid it out the right way the other day. We played against a really good team, and they had to kill us to get rid of us, and that's exactly what happened. Connecticut led this game for about 35 of the 40 minutes, and then Florida, Walter Clayton Jr., they just made plays. They're a really, really good team. It's why I have them to win it all, folks. That's why I have them to win it all.
You also broke them down saying that their defense was lacking and was sorely exposed on the underside all game. That's what I was watching. They were getting their big men freed up down underneath.
Florida's huge.
Yep.
Florida's huge. And I thought I said going into this, and again, I don't think maybe they watch you in the zone down there in Stores that much, but I said play both big men together. Play Johnson and play Reed together. And then you're going to have 2 bigs. You wouldn't have got out-boxed by Florida that way. But
Yep.
Florida was coming down the floor, 4 out, and just having whatever mismatch they had because they are so tall. You're going to cover them, you're going to substitute, and eventually they're going to find you in one of those mismatches where your guy's too small to cover all of their size. And they did a great job. Coach Golden and staff did a great job. 2 of his assistant coaches right now are taking jobs. Andrew Jack's going to Campbell, and his other assistant's going and taking the Columbia job. So there's a lot going on in that Florida program that's absolutely very cool right now, and I think they've got a shot. We're going to see how it pretends. But Duke made short work of Baylor. I thought Baylor might be able to give them a little bit. 89-66. Flag is back. He goes for 18-9. But the guy who is carrying Duke right now, and nobody's talking about this guy, and I can't understand why, Tyrese Proctor. Man, for the last month of the season and up until now, this young man is playing the best basketball in the entire country. And you're not hearing his name from people. He went 7 for 8 from three-point range against Baylor. He was 6 for 7 in their first game. Unbelievable. Kentucky takes out Illinois. Illinois got a very, very young team. We'll see how they can hold on to that. There's going to be some guys that go pro off that team as well. They got some good young players. But Kentucky, Pope is dope. Got his family out there. He's got his wife with him traveling, his 2 daughters. I mean, it's just a family build, and it's selling right now, Pete. Everybody's going crazy for Pope. They're in the Sweet 16. They have the best shooter in the country on this team. His name is Kobe Brea, and he transferred in from Atlantic 10 School Dayton. Alabama, 80-66 over St. Mary's. They flexed a little bit that day. I was worried about this team, and they're just really they're just out there a little bit. I don't know what's going on with them, but they're not really in tune, and they don't look like they've got that eye of the tiger with them. They beat St. Mary's 80-66. The guy who's been coming off the bench, Mohamed Diabute, he's from Queens, New York. He's had monster games for them off the bench, and he's been one of the reasons that they're winning right now. Alabama's starting 5 is not clicking. I don't know what's up with it, but they're not clicking. Maryland, the Crab 5. The NCAA says thank you to the Crab 5 for injecting at least a little bit of enthusiasm and a little bit of bump into this tournament for which it has been sorely lacking. We got the big guy, Derek Queen. I'm going to go out on a limb right now. I haven't done my final determinations, but I am in consideration of having Derek Queen be the number 1 pick overall.
Wow.
This kid has game. He's 6'11", puts it on the floor, can handle it, shoot it, pass it, comes from Baltimore, so he's got basketball IQ. I'm looking at Queen. I like Cooper Flagg too, but I think there's a translation issue with Flagg, general managers, NBA, you know what I'm talking about. But I don't see a whole lot of issue with Queen. I want to see him get into a real great training program because that young man has a world of potential. But they beat Colorado State 72-71 at the buzzer, Derek Queen. Some people saying he walked, other people saying he didn't. I got news for you, folks. The whistle didn't blow, so it's not a walk. All right? Reese and Queen. I talked about this up front line. The young man Reese from Maryland and Derek Queen, I said they were one of the best front lines. Reese goes for 15 and 11. Queen goes for 17 and 6, and the buzzer beater. All right, Mississippi. This is a surprise Sweet 16 team. They manhandled North Carolina in that game. Carolina came back, made it tight, but they manhandled Carolina in that game. And this is Chris Beard, who was at Texas, got jammed up, got the Mississippi job, and boy, has he turned them around. 91-78 over a team that everybody was high on, except they got some crazy injuries at the end of the year. Iowa State, TJ Otzelberger, but I'm going to give you his name again. Sweet 16 surprise superstar of this whole tournament, Sean Padula. Nobody is talking about this young man. Back-to-back 20 games, and look at the clip of what he did to Elliot Cadeau. I'll show you why. He's doing good stuff. Michigan State 71 over 63. That game was close. Richard Pitino has formed into a very, very good basketball coach. Keep an eye on him, folks, when the open Villanova job starts to fill. I think that could be a very, very good arrangement. Part of it, I think, would be of a familial aspect where his dad is the head coach at St. John's. I don't know, do you want to coach in the same league as your dad? But I guess that would make for some really, really good games in the Garden and elsewhere.
Yeah, it would.
So that's interesting. Keep an eye on it. I don't know that if I was, like myself personally, I don't even like to coach against people I know, let alone somebody that's in my family. I guess you could take the tack, well, at least one of us is going to win. And they both make a tremendous amount of money, but, man, I just don't know if I could go for that. But Michigan State, Izzo, you're in the Izzone right now, 71-63. They survived. Jace Richardson going 1 for 10 and 0 for 5 from three-point range. That's Izzo. One of his best players goes 1 for 10 in the biggest game of the year, and they win. That's what they do. They struggled. If that JT Toppin, again, if JT Toppin had not left to go to Texas Tech and stayed at New Mexico, with New Mexico and Donovan Dent, I think you're talking Final Four. Yeah. Arizona, 87-83 over Oregon. It was the last game of the night. Caleb Love goes up against his old nemesis, Duke. They asked him after the game, what do you plan on? What do you got ready for Duke? He had his teammates behind him. All he said was, we'll be ready for them. Arizona Duke sets it up nicely. Here's your Sweet 16, Pete. Auburn versus Michigan. Wow. What a game. What a game. Auburn beat Creighton. Michigan beat Texas A&M. You got Vlad Golden going up against Johnny Broome in a battle of the Titans. And Mercurial guard Tahad Pettiford is going to go up against the Michigan backcourt. Great game right there. I don't know who to tell you on that one, folks. That's a rough one. Texas Tech and Arkansas. Calipari getting into the Sweet 16, surprising everybody. Everybody knows he didn't belong in the tournament, but they're making the most out of it. They're going to run up against a really, really tough Texas Tech team who beat Drake. Arkansas manhandled St. John's. They manhandled them. Make no mistake about it. Right now, I'm going to give you the conference makeup before I move any further. SEC has 7 teams left. The Big Ten has 4. The Big 12 has 4. The ACC with Duke has 1. 3 of my Final 4, Florida, Houston, and Alabama, are still alive. North Carolina, the one mishap that I did have. Florida and Maryland, going to be a great game. Maryland has the size, Pete. You were talking about Florida's size. Maryland, as I aforementioned, front line with Reese and Queen. They can hang with Florida a little bit. I think that's going to be a really, really good game. Florida beat Connecticut, who had handled them for 36 minutes, and came back. Maryland with a buzzer beater over Colorado State. Both had very, very tough prelim games to this one. Mississippi against Michigan State. Wow. This game is going to be a war. I'm going to tell you right now, Mississippi's loaded. They done well in the portal, and they are loaded, and Beard can coach. Let me tell you, this guy can coach. Michigan State, you're in the Izzone. Tom Izzo, man, they just play hard. They get after it. They play Michigan State basketball, portal or not, NIL or not, you're going to play Michigan State basketball. BYU versus Alabama. BYU and Alabama, another really, really good game. You got BYU having beaten Wisconsin, a very good Wisconsin team, and Alabama, this is what somebody said on social media, and I'll share it. Alabama has played the softest schedule to get to the Sweet 16 of anybody. It really pays to have your athletic director on the selection committee. Ba-boom. Okay, Houston and Purdue. Cryer versus Kaufman-Wren, great game. Both players right now might be playing the best of any 2 players in the entire tournament. Throw Sean Padula in there, but L.J. Cryer matched up against Kaufman-Wren out of Purdue, and give Painter credit. They lost Zach Edey. They lost a lot of pieces, but, man, are they cooking. And right now, they're the type of team that could give Houston some problems. They could. And then you got Tennessee and Kentucky, a little SEC on SEC violence. You do not have the chance to reshuffle the deck here. And when you have 14 teams from one conference make up a 64-team tournament, 68-team tournament, you're going to maybe run into each other. Kentucky, Tennessee, oh, my God. Pete, here's a little something I wanted to share with you as well. Okay? Duke is cooking right now. All right, we talked about their soft ACC schedule where they hadn't seen top 25 opponents and they hadn't done anything, but they're cooking right now. And what I mean by cooking is they averaged against Baylor, and this is crazy, 1.50 points per possession against a really, really pretty good defense. Baylor's athletic. Coach Drew's known for his ability to get a team to play. So, right there, you have your Sweet 16 pretty much laid out, folks. You got it. You got it laid out, and you're really, really going to have to. I don't know. I don't know how you're going to grab some of those games because this is what they were looking for. This is what they were hoping for. They were hoping for that Sweet 16. They were hoping for that Elite 8. They were looking for those games where they absolutely came up and really, really give you the best basketball of the year. I think that's what they're waiting for, but I don't know. Here's the folly of their plan that I see, and I'll just leave it with you for this, folks. The folly of your plan is, are people going to be interested, A, but also, now that you've got all of these teams that are here, and they're pretty evenly matched from what everybody can tell, now are you going to have situations where there's any excitement at all to the tournament? This is just kind of, if you wind up with, all 4 number ones going to the Final Four, I don't think people are going to find excitement in that. All right? But I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to give you, at least in my mind, how I see the games playing out. I'll give them to you. We got a few minutes. I'm going to jump into the NIT as promised, but the NIT's more boring than this, folks. I got news for you. The CBI, the CBI has Army over Elon. Come on, folks. You're paid to get into that tournament? Really? All right. Here's your Sweet 16 that I can lay it out for you. All right? Auburn, Michigan. I just can't bet against this guy, Dusty May. They have a really good team, an amazing front line. Auburn's got a good front line with Janai Broom and Chad Baker-Mazara. So that's going to be a great matchup. Tahad Petaway might be one of the determining factors in this game. Is he the guy that's going to break Auburn out? Or is Michigan, and I'm going to lay it to you out like this. This is a game I see between a team that rides on a high emotional quotient, high and low, Auburn, and a team that rides and prides itself on focus and discipline. Dusty May's teams pride themselves on focus and discipline. You heard John L. Davis from Arkansas. He's still playing. They're talking about him going into the portal. Maybe he'll go to Michigan and reunite with his former coach who he had at FAU. Who knows? But I'm going to take Michigan in that game, Pete. Because for me, I always focus on, I think discipline pays at this time. I really, really do. Now we go to Texas Tech, Arkansas. We're swilling the ginger ale here, folks, with all of these Canada Dry. Send us a couple of cases, will you? We don't need an NIL deal. We don't need any of that stuff, but send a couple of cases of soda to us, maybe. All right. Texas Tech versus Arkansas, Pete. I didn't expect this Arkansas team to beat St. John's. I didn't expect them to be in the tournament. But they've been winning, and they've been doing it well. And they have some injuries that they've been able to overcome. When Boogie Flan comes back in this lineup, though, it's a little bit different. All right? But when you're talking Texas Tech, I think this is one of the best teams that kind of flew under the radar all year. I've seen them play a couple of times this year. They're really, really good. I'm going to go with Texas Tech in that game. All right? But I want to also let people know, I told my sports information director, Dave Caspol, to take North Carolina and Xavier over the weekend, and they both went down in flames. So before you put any hard-earned money on what Rich Sutter says, you might want to consult with some other people as well. Florida, Maryland, one of the best games. I'm not going against Florida at this point, but Coach Willard done a great job. They asked Derek Queen in a press conference, this is part of the problem with some of these coaches in these press conferences. Coach Willard's sitting there and he says, well, they said, you guys listen to Coach Willard and you do it. And they said, and Derek Queen goes, yeah, we listen to him because he pays us. And Willard just dumped his head down on the ground and just shook his head and said, thanks, Derek. Appreciate it. Glad we're all in this together. I'm taking Florida. I'm taking Florida. I don't think that Reese and Queen have seen a front line like this yet, and I think that you're running into a situation where there's been a lot of distraction going on at Maryland. Their AD just left. Willard's been rumored to be talking to Villanova. You never really know, but I mean, I just think those are distractions that really aren't going to help. You know, in this whole thing, you know, I just think you're going to have some situations here where, you know, it's going to be tough to call some of these games, but I'm going Florida there. Mississippi, Michigan State. I don't know if you can bet against this Mississippi team. Michigan State might be the team to do it, but I'm going to ride Mississippi there. I like what they're doing. I think Duke is cooking with gasoline. I think they're going to make it as well. BYU and Alabama. Woof. That's a great game. That's a really good game.
That's the big one, yeah.
I'm going to go with Alabama there because I got them in the Final Four. Houston, Purdue. I like Houston to close out Purdue, and a great season for them. And Tennessee versus Kentucky, man, that's a tough one. That's a real tough one. But I think Pope is dope, but I got Tennessee in my Final Four. I'm going to stick with the Volunteers, the semi-volunteers as we call them now. All right, Pete, we got a few minutes here, so we're going to absolutely jump into the NIT. 32 teams they started with. One of the baselines that we started with was that there were six A10 teams that were in it. And out of the six, there's one that remains. Loyola Chicago Ramblers' sister Jean, 105 years old, has another run left in her. She has another run. And she's absolutely out there with the Ramblers right now, and they have done well. They've done well. We're going to talk about that. I think they have a really good team also, that Loyola Chicago team. And when people ask me, who should this school hire? Who should that school hire? I think Drew Valentine's a name I don't mind throwing out there. Done very well at Loyola, and I think he's ready for a new challenge. I think that some of the names you're going to be talking about next year are going to be A10 names. You're going to be talking about Chris Caputo. You're going to be talking about Drew Valentine. Keep an eye on Billy Lang. Going to Villanova. Nobody's talking about that one. Keep an eye on Billy Lang going to Villanova. During the Michigan State New Mexico game, the NIT had Kent State and Stanford on. I'm going to revisit that. Okay? During Michigan State and New Mexico, great game. Great game. It was in the middle of the night. 9 o'clock at night. All right? They have Kent State versus Stanford. Kent State beat up my Bonnies pretty good. Kent State beat Stanford. They're talking about Rob Senderoff as one of the finalists at Fordham. I'm going to say to the Fordham people, I think you're getting a head fake there, and you might want to focus on Coach Sellers from Central Connecticut State. A10, 6 out of 32 teams to begin the NIT. 1 out of 8 remain, as we said, the Ramblers and Sister Jean. Okay? I want to suggest something, Pete. I want to make a claim. I want to make a suggestion. And if they come up and they take the suggestion, I think we should get maybe some kind of remuneration for it, some kind of rebranding, some kind of marketing payment. You know, Pete's engaged, and I've got a young daughter in college, so, we're always looking for that angle. I got one for the CBI, Pete. The CBI is this other tournament now that's out there, been out there for a while, but it's one actually where you pay them. NCAA, they pay you. NIT, I don't know what they do. You pay them, they pay you. You cover this.
You go Dutch.
You take the turkey sub, and we'll cover the chips.
Yeah, you go Dutch.
Yeah, I don't know how that whole thing works out. You got the crown where they're saying, we got money, baby. You want to wear this crown? You're going to get $1 million to back up this crown. And I'll be honest with you, if I was my guys at St. Bonaventure, I'd have to rethink that. If you're going to go, they were in the NIT this year, got bounced out in a home game to Kent State. Maybe take a run next time at the Crown. 16 teams, big money. There's your NIL package for the year. All right, but here's the name change I'm suggesting, Pete. You have this other tournament called the CBI. Army beat Elon last night. Woo! Everybody's jumping up and down over that one. And they're running this thing the same time that they're running the NCAA, running the NIT. At least the Crown has this fall forth to think about this and say, we're going to hold it after all this is done. or we're going to start ours right around the time theirs is ending. Okay? Here's the name change I came up with for the CBI.
Okay.
Okay? It's going to be called from here on out, and again, call us. Call us, folks, because this idea is crazy. It's hot. CBLI. And it will stand for couldn't be less interested. We got you. We got you. Now, come on, write that check. Send it to me and Pete. Okay? I think they pay. I don't know, Pete, but I think they pay upwards of $65,000 to go in there. How about that? That's where you're at? Unbelievable. All right. Before I get into the Elite Eight of the NIT, which is left, and I would love it. I would go crazy for the NIT if it wasn't matched up against the NCAA. I'm going to say it to you very simply. Hold it in April. I'll love it. Do it like the bowl games. Hold them out for a little while. Get them a little meal money. Get them a little meal table. Let them practice. Let them keep rolling. And then you go to the NIT. Right after all that stuff is done, you're going to get a great TV package. You're going to get great coverage. People are actually going to watch it. All right, Oklahoma State versus SMU was a game. Oklahoma State, I don't know, with their record, how you get into any postseason tournament at all. Okay? But they got into the NIT. All right? They beat SMU the other night. Okay? The attendance, the game was at SMU. The attendance for the game, 3,102. Now, some of those are also season ticket holders that didn't go. So when they have an attendance number, and if you have 1,500 season ticket holders, that count gets caught automatically. So in essence, you had 1,500 people show up for an NIT. North Texas, Arkansas State. Okay? Well, they hold 7,000 at SMU. I'm really surprised at some of the size of these arenas, that they're not bigger. But Oklahoma State holds it, and they go at 13,600. Could have held that game at Oklahoma State in front of 1,200 people. 2,661 people in attendance for the North Texas, Arkansas State game. And that was a great game. Arkansas State has a really good team. I gave you North Texas as probably them and Boise State are the two teams that should be licking their wounds the most about what they got from the NCAA selection committee. But North Texas has 9,797 seats, 2,661, plus got to take out the season ticket holders.
Again, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
It's
and
bad.
I just looked up the CBI tournament. Oof. Their first and second round games are on Flow Sports, so they're only online and you got to pay for it. The semifinals are at ESPNU, which is carried on a handful of cable systems. And the championship game, March 26th, is on ESPN2.
Pete, can you see how many fingers I'm holding up?
3.
That's how many years they have left.
Yeah.
They're done. San Francisco, Loyola. Loyola goes out to San Francisco, wins the game. 1,624 people were in attendance, and that includes Sister Jean. 3,000 only. Only 3,000 in San Francisco's arena, though, Pete. 3,005 seats. I bet those 5 make a big difference. All right. So now, in your matchups here, you had University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. That's a name that just falls right off of everybody's lips when they say basketball powerhouse. They beat Dayton, 87-72.
At least I know who Dayton is.
Well, we did, and that's one of the A-10 teams that took a powder. Bradley, another A-10 team taking a powder. Bradley, 75. George Mason, 67. Great season for George Mason. Again, I'd much rather see George Mason get into the tournament than Arkansas. I know the Power 5 people don't want that. I know the TV people don't want that. But I think a lot of people in this country do. All right. Loyola 77-76 over San Francisco. Pretty good game. I flipped back and forth a little bit between that game. But Loyola emerged victorious. And Kent State beat Stanford 77-75. And so you're filling out that bracket as well. Oklahoma State 85-83 over SMU. And you also have North Texas 65-63 over Arkansas State. That might have been one of the most athletic lineups for both teams that anybody has seen all year. North Texas, they got hosed. Boise State, they got hosed. George Mason, they got hosed. And you know it darn well that if you were on the old RPI system, every single one of those teams would have gotten in, and Arkansas, Georgia, and Oklahoma would have got sent to the pen where they belonged. All right. The Anteaters at UC Irvine 66, Jacksonville 61. UAB 88, Santa Clara 84. Great comeback win for UAB. Here's how it sits out right now. Tennessee, Chattanooga plays Bradley. Loyola will play Kent State. Very, very good basketball game there. Oklahoma State versus North Texas. I think North Texas, given on what I'm seeing here, North Texas is going to play Bradley in the final, Pete. That's my prediction. Oklahoma State could knock them off because they got some talent, but you also have the Anteaters of UC Irvine against UAB. All right, UAB has a very, very good pro prospect on it as well. We'll be looking for that as well. But out of the matchups that I see here, Tennessee, Chattanooga over Bradley, I'm taking Bradley in that one. Loyola versus Kent State. Man, I saw what Kent State did to my Bonnies. Loyola's very, very good, but I'm taking Kent State in that game. Rob Senderoff is going to maybe send her off, send Sister Jean off. You never know, but Loyola's been playing good basketball. Oklahoma State versus North Texas. This is going to be a very good game, but I got North Texas going all the way in that one. UC Irvine versus UAB. This UC Irvine team is very good. I'm going to take Irvine, give it a little bit of West Coast flavor. Therefore, you'll have Tennessee, Bradley game. Bradley is from the Midwest. Kent State, Midwest. North Texas is obviously from Texas. UC Irvine would give it a California flavor, maybe bounce it out a little bit. But right there, Pete, you got to be honest.
This is how much the NCAA ignores the NIT. The only way you can get a bracket is a printout. They have the website built completely, all the infrastructure's in place because they do a live bracket for the NCAA tournament. Pete, but if you try to get a live bracket for the NIT tournament, it does not exist.
It pops up NCAA.
It doesn't. Yeah, you have to go and get a printed
you the NCAA
version
bracket.
that they update. Don't get me wrong, they update it.
I got one in the NCAA that they've been updating and stuff like that, but it hasn't been very well updated. I had to go back and forth between ESPN.
But if you want the NIT, and it says college basketball's beginning, NIT tournament, the only way you can get to it is a printed paper copy.
This was a guy I knew when I was younger, and his name was Jack Powers. And Jack Powers was the head basketball coach and the athletic director at Manhattan College, right next to where I grew up. And Jack Powers, I worked at his basketball camp. He was a great, great human being. Him and Hal Whistle both died this year. But Jack Powers, after he left Manhattan College, went and ran the NIT for many, many years. He was the president of the NIT, and he did an absolutely amazing job in running the NIT all of those years. I don't know who they grabbed. I don't know who they put in charge of it since Coach Jack Powers isn't in charge of it anymore. But holy smokes, you better get your act together fast.
They grabbed Carl in the office.
You're going to be a ghost.
They grabbed Carl in the office.
We'll be back Thursday with more to report. We'll have some more NIT news, thankfully, but there'll be games Thursday. There'll be action going on.
Hey,
this is going to get hot, folks.
You want to put it off till Friday, till we have some Thursday games to go on?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Pete's really thinking this thing through. We'll come back to you on Friday after we have the Thursday games done, and we'll have something really good to report. Folks, again, 100 shows. You've been in the zone. We've been in the zone. We love you. Stay with us and come back next week because the zone is where it's at, folks. Pete, we'll see you.